On a sunny afternoon in a small town, the air was warm and filled with the sounds of laughter and chatter. Children played in the park, and families enjoyed picnics on the grass. Among them was a little girl named Aisha. She was 7 years old, with bright eyes and curly hair that bounced as she ran. Today, she wore her favorite purple dress and a cozy blue scarf that her grandmother had knitted for her. As she skipped along the path, Aisha's eyes caught sight of something unusual. There, on a bench under a large oak tree, sat a homeless woman. The woman was wrapped in a thin, tattered blanket and shivered slightly. Despite the warmth of the day, her hair was wild, and her face looked tired and worn. Aisha had seen this woman before, but had never spoken to her. Aisha stopped and watched the woman for a moment. The woman seemed lost in thought, her gaze fixed on the ground. Aisha felt a tug at her heart. She knew she should help. She took a step closer, but then she hesitated. What if the woman was scary? What if she didn't want help? But as Aisha looked again, she noticed the woman's hands trembling. This made Aisha's heart ache. She remembered her favorite scarf, the one that kept her warm on chilly days. It was bright blue and made her feel safe. In that moment, she felt that the woman needed it more than she did. Gathering her courage, Aisha walked over to the bench. The woman looked up, and their eyes met. Aisha saw a mixture of gratitude and sadness in the woman's eyes. It made her feel both nervous and brave. "Excuse me," Aisha said softly. "I have a scarf. You can have it if you want." She held out her blue scarf, her heart racing. The woman blinked, surprise washing over her face. For a moment, she did not say anything. Aisha felt her heart pounding in her chest, worried that maybe she had made a mistake. Then the woman slowly reached out, her hands shaking. "Oh, thank you, dear," she said, her voice shaky but warm. "You are very kind." As she took the scarf, Aisha felt a sense of relief wash over her. The woman wrapped the scarf around her shoulders, and a smile broke through her tired expression. "It's very warm," the woman said, and for a moment, she looked like she had found a little joy. Aisha felt proud. She had made a difference, even if it was small. Aisha chatted with the woman for a little while, asking her name. "My name is Mary," the woman replied. "I've had a tough time, but your kindness makes it a little easier." They shared a smile, and Aisha felt as if they had formed a special bond, even if it was just for that moment. But then, as Aisha started to walk back home, she turned around one last time. Mary was looking at her, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. There was something in the woman's gaze that Aisha couldn't quite place. It was a mixture of gratitude, sadness, and something else, something deep that made Aisha shiver. The feeling lingered as Aisha walked home, and her heart felt heavy. Why did the woman look so sad? Aisha tried to shake off the feeling, focusing instead on the sunny day and her warm home waiting for her. Yet, no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't forget the look in Mary's eyes. Later that night, as Aisha snuggled in her bed, she couldn't help but think about Mary. She wondered where the woman would sleep, if she would be warm enough, and if anyone else would be kind to her. The scarf was her favorite, but giving it away felt right. Aisha fell asleep dreaming of helping others, hoping she could make more people smile. The next day dawned bright and clear, but Aisha awoke with a sense of unease. The memory of Mary lingered in her mind, refusing to fade. What if the woman was still out there, cold and alone? She needed to know. As Aisha got ready for school, she asked her mother if they could go back to the park. "I want to see Mary again," she said, her voice filled with determination. Her mother looked surprised. "Mary, the homeless woman?" she asked. Aisha nodded. "She was very kind, Mom. I want to see if she is okay." Her mother hesitated but eventually agreed. "Okay, we can go to the park after school." Aisha's heart soared. She couldn't wait to see Mary again, to share more smiles and kindness. But little did Aisha know that the next day would bring more than just a visit to the park. Something unexpected was about to happen. Something that would change her life and the life of Mary forever. As Aisha drifted off to sleep that night, she felt a mix of excitement and worry. She hoped everything would be all right. But deep down, she sensed that their story was far from over. What would happen when she returned to the park? Aisha could only wait and see. The sun peeked through Aisha's bedroom window the next morning, filling the room with warm light. She woke up feeling excited and hopeful. Today was the day she would return to the park and see Mary again. Aisha quickly dressed and had breakfast, her mind racing with thoughts of the woman. Would she still be wearing the blue scarf? Would she have a smile for Aisha? After school, Aisha and her mother walked to the park, the sounds of children playing and birds chirping surrounding them. Aisha's heart beat faster with each step. She scanned the park, searching for the familiar figure of Mary on the bench. But as they walked past the playground, Aisha's heart sank. The bench was empty. "Maybe she's just out for a walk," Aisha said, trying to stay positive. But deep inside, she felt a nagging worry. What if something had happened to Mary? They walked around the park for a while, but there was no sign of her. Aisha's mother tried to comfort her. "It's okay, sweetie. Sometimes people come and go. Maybe she'll be back later." Just as they were about to leave, a police car pulled into the park and parked nearby. Aisha watched curiously as two officers stepped out, looking serious. They began talking to a few people sitting on benches, and Aisha felt a sense of unease. What were they doing here? "Let's go," her mother said, taking her hand. "We should head home." But Aisha couldn't move. She felt compelled to find out what was happening. As they stood near the playground, Aisha spotted Mary across the park, her head down and shoulders slumped. She was sitting on the ground next to a tree, looking lost. Aisha tugged at her mother's sleeve. "Mom, look, there's Mary." Her mother looked, then frowned. "Aisha, wait here. I'll go talk to her." But before her mother could reach Mary, the officers approached the woman. "Ma'am, we need to ask you a few questions," one of the officers said. Aisha's heart raced. She watched as Mary looked up, her expression shifting from sadness to fear. "Why are you bothering her?" Aisha called out, her voice shaking with concern. She couldn't understand why the police were speaking to Mary. Didn't they see how fragile she looked? "Aisha, stay back," her mother said firmly, but Aisha stepped forward, determined to protect her new friend. "Leave her alone. She's nice," Aisha shouted. The officers turned to her, surprise evident on their faces. "She helped me when I was cold," Aisha continued, tears welling in her eyes. "Aisha, please," her mother pleaded. But Aisha was too upset to listen. She felt like she had to defend Mary. The officers exchanged glances. "We're not here to hurt her," one of them said. "We just need to ask her some questions. It's important." Mary looked down at the ground, her hands trembling. Aisha could see that she was scared. "What's happening?" Aisha asked, her voice trembling. The officer knelt down to Aisha's level. "Sweetheart, we're just making sure she's safe. Sometimes people need help, and we want to make sure she's okay." Aisha frowned, confused. "But she is okay. She has my scarf." Just then, another officer approached with a notepad. "Ma'am," he said to Mary, "we received a call about some suspicious activity nearby. Can you tell us where you were last night?" Mary's face turned pale. I was just sitting here in the park," she stammered. "I didn't do anything wrong." Aisha felt her heart race. She couldn't bear to see Mary so scared. "You're a good person, Mary," Aisha cried. "You helped me." The officer stood up, looking at Aisha with a mix of surprise and admiration. "I believe you, kid," he said softly. "But we still need to do our job." Aisha's mother finally caught up and placed a comforting hand on Aisha's shoulder. "Let's go home, honey," she said gently, her voice calming Aisha's racing heart. "No," Aisha protested, her eyes fixed on Mary. "I want to stay." The officers finished their questions, but Mary seemed more frightened than ever. Aisha wished she could do something to help. Finally, The officers walked away, leaving Mary sitting under the tree, looking small and lost. Aisha turned to her mother, tears streaming down her face. They were mean to her. She didn't do anything wrong. I know, Aisha, her mother replied, kneeling beside her. But they were just doing their job. It's important to keep everyone safe. Aisha wiped her tears, still feeling the weight of what had just happened. But she needs help. I can't just leave her like this. Aisha, we'll come back tomorrow. I promise. Let's make sure we can help her properly, her mother said, squeezing her shoulder. As they walked home, Aisha's heart felt heavy. She couldn't stop thinking about Mary sitting alone in the park, and the fear in her eyes when the police approached. What if Mary needed her again? What would happen if she didn't come back to the park? That night, Aisha lay in bed, unable to sleep. Her mind raced with thoughts of Mary, the scarf, and the police officers. She knew she had to do something. She wanted to help Mary, but what could she do? As she drifted off to sleep, Aisha made a silent promise. She would return to the park, and she would find a way to help Mary. The next day, she would be brave, just like she had been when she gave away her scarf. But she couldn't shake the feeling that something big was about to happen, something that would change everything. The next day, Aisha woke up determined. After breakfast, she gathered her things, her favorite purple backpack, a snack for Mary, and a piece of paper with a drawing of the two of them in the park. She wanted Mary to know that she cared. Aisha, where are you off to? Her mother asked as she saw Aisha preparing to leave. I'm going back to the park, Mom. I need to see Mary, Aisha replied with a firm look. Her mother hesitated, remembering the events of the previous day. Okay, but I want to come with you, just to be safe. Aisha nodded, appreciating her mother's support. Together, they made their way to the park, the warm sun shining down on them. Aisha's heart raced with a mix of excitement and worry. She hoped Mary would be there. As they approached the park, Aisha looked around, scanning every bench and tree. But there was no sign of Mary. Aisha felt her heart sink. What if she wasn't coming back? Maybe we should check the other side of the park, her mother suggested. They walked toward the playground, but Aisha still didn't see her friend. Suddenly, Aisha spotted a familiar figure sitting on a bench in the distance. Her heart leaped. Mom, there she is. Aisha pointed, her voice filled with excitement. As they approached, Aisha noticed that Mary looked even sadder than before. Her head was down, and she was picking at the grass beside her. Aisha felt a pang of sadness for her. Hi, Mary, Aisha called out cheerfully, hoping to brighten her day. Mary looked up, her expression softening slightly. Oh, hello, dear, she replied, her voice low. Aisha ran up to her, holding out the drawing. I made this for you. It's us in the park. Mary took the drawing, her eyes welling up with tears. Thank you, Aisha. It's beautiful. What happened yesterday? Aisha asked gently, sitting beside her. The police were so mean to you. You didn't do anything wrong. Mary sighed, looking away. It's a long story. Sometimes people don't understand, especially when they see someone like me in a situation like that. But you helped me. You gave me your scarf when I was cold. Aisha said, her voice firm. You're nice, and I don't want you to feel sad. Mary smiled faintly, and Aisha felt a flicker of hope. Thank you for saying that, Aisha. It means a lot to me. I just wish people would see the good in others, rather than jumping to conclusions. Can I help you? Aisha asked earnestly. What can I do? Mary looked at her, surprise written on her face. You're so kind, Aisha. Just being here makes me feel better. Aisha thought for a moment. Maybe we can do something together. Like a picnic. I can bring food, and we can sit in the sun. It will be fun. Mary chuckled softly. A picnic sounds lovely. I haven't had one in years. Excited, Aisha jumped up. Great. I'll bring sandwiches and juice. She turned to her mother, who was standing nearby, smiling. Mom, can we have a picnic? Her mother nodded, clearly happy to see Aisha so enthusiastic. Of course. Let's head to the store and pick up some supplies. They quickly gathered sandwiches, juice boxes, and snacks. Aisha felt a sense of purpose as they walked back to the park with their picnic basket. She couldn't wait to see Mary smile. When they arrived, Mary was still sitting on the bench. Aisha rushed over, holding the basket. Surprise! We're having a picnic. Mary's eyes sparkled with joy. Really? You didn't have to do that. I wanted to, Aisha said, setting up the picnic blanket on the grass. They spread out the food and sat down, enjoying the sunny day together. As they ate, Aisha and Mary shared stories. Mary told Aisha about her childhood, how she used to play in the park just like Aisha. Aisha shared her dreams of becoming an artist, showing Mary the sketches she had drawn. Mary listened attentively, smiling as she watched Aisha's eyes light up with excitement. For the first time in a long while, Mary felt a sense of warmth and connection. But just as the mood lightened, the sound of approaching footsteps made Aisha's heart race. She looked up to see the same police officers from yesterday walking toward them. Aisha's stomach twisted with worry. What would they say? Oh, she whispered to Mary. The officers approached, their expressions serious. Excuse me, ma'am, one of them said, directing his attention to Mary. We need to ask you some questions. Aisha felt her heart pound. Would they take Mary away? She couldn't let that happen. You can't take her. She's my friend, Aisha cried, standing up. The officers paused, surprised by her outburst. We're just making sure she's okay, one officer said gently. Mary looked at Aisha, her expression a mix of gratitude and concern. It's okay, Aisha. They're just doing their job. But Aisha was not convinced. She felt a surge of determination, but she hasn't done anything wrong. She's nice and kind. The officer knelt down to Aisha's level, his voice calm. We understand, Hid. We're not here to hurt her. We just want to help. Aisha took a deep breath, still feeling worried. You don't understand. She helped me, and now you're scaring her. The other officer glanced at his partner and sighed. We'll talk to her, but we need to make sure she's safe. Aisha watched, her heart heavy, as the officers began questioning Mary again. She felt powerless. How could she protect her friend? Mary looked at Aisha with a reassuring smile. It's okay, Aisha. Just give me a moment. As Aisha stood there, filled with anxiety, she knew one thing. She would fight for Mary. Whatever it took, she would not let anyone take her away. Today, she had made a promise to help, and she intended to keep it. Aisha stood frozen, watching the officers talk to Mary. Her heart raced with worry, but she tried to stay calm. This was her friend, and she wouldn't let anyone scare her away. Mary was answering the officers' questions, her voice steady. I'm just sitting here with my friend, enjoying a picnic, she explained. The officers listened, their expressions softening slightly. Look, we understand there's been some misunderstanding, one officer said, glancing at Aisha, but we need to make sure everything is all right. Aisha could feel the tension in the air. She wanted to shout and tell them they were wrong about Mary, but she knew shouting wouldn't help. Instead, she decided to speak up. She didn't do anything wrong. She helped me yesterday, and now you're bothering her. The officers turned their attention to Aisha. We appreciate your concern, but we have a job to do. One of them replied, his tone firm but not unkind. Mary reached out, placing her hand gently on Aisha's arm. It's okay, sweetheart. Let them do their job, she said softly. Her eyes were warm, but there was a hint of sadness behind them. Feeling defeated, Aisha stepped back, but didn't take her eyes off Mary. She wanted to scream, to make them see how wonderful Mary was. As she watched, something unexpected happened. Suddenly, a woman approached from the path leading to the park. She looked concerned, rushing toward the group. Officers, what's going on here? She asked, her voice filled with urgency. Aisha recognized her as one of the local news reporters. Her name was Lisa, and she had always been kind to Aisha. The officers looked surprised to see her. "We're just asking a few questions," one officer explained. Lisa raised an eyebrow, her expression shifting to one of determination. "I know this woman," she said, pointing to Mary. "She's a part of our community. Why are you questioning her in front of a child?" Aisha felt a glimmer of hope as she listened to Lisa. "Exactly," she chimed in. "Mary is my friend." The officers exchanged uncertain glances. Lisa stepped closer to Mary. "Mary, are you all right? Do you need anything?" Mary shook her head, a small smile appearing on her face. "I'm okay, really. I was just having a picnic with this lovely girl." Lisa turned back to the officers. "You must realize how this looks, right? A woman enjoying time in the park with a child, and you're scaring her away. Is this really necessary?" The first officer sighed, running a hand through his hair. "We just want to make sure everyone is safe, but it seems like there's been a misunderstanding." Aisha watched closely, her heart pounding. Would the officers leave Mary alone now? Mary spoke up again, her voice steady. "I understand your concern, but I haven't done anything wrong. I've been living in this town for years, and I'm just trying to enjoy my day." Lisa nodded, backing her up. "Exactly. Let's not escalate this further. How about we let them enjoy their picnic?" The officers looked at each other, their demeanor shifting. "All right, we'll let you be," one finally said. "But if we see you in any trouble, we will have to come back." Mary nodded, her face reflecting a mix of relief and gratitude. "Thank you." As the officers walked away, Aisha felt the weight lift from her chest. "You did it, Mary. They're gone," she exclaimed, her eyes shining with excitement. Mary smiled broadly, and for a moment, it felt like the sun had come out again. "Yes, thanks to you and Lisa. You're both brave." Aisha's cheeks flushed with pride. "I just wanted to help," she said, still buzzing with energy. "Can we finish our picnic now?" "Of course," Mary said, her laughter ringing out. "Let's enjoy it while we can." As they sat back down on the picnic blanket, Aisha felt a new sense of determination. This was her friend, and she would always stand up for her. They'd resumed their lunch, sharing sandwiches and juice, laughter filling the air around them. But deep inside, Aisha knew this wouldn't be the last time they faced challenges. The world could be unfair, especially for people like Mary. Yet with each bite of her sandwich and each shared story, Aisha felt empowered. Together, they could face anything. After their picnic, Mary leaned back, her face relaxed. "You know, Aisha, you remind me of myself when I was your age, always wanting to help others." Aisha grinned. "Really? That's cool. What did you do?" "I volunteered at shelters, helped neighbors, anything I could do to spread kindness," Mary replied. "That's why I loved helping you yesterday." Aisha felt a spark ignite within her. "I want to help too. I want to do something big." Mary's eyes twinkled. "We can. How about we organize something? A day where people come together to help those in need. Like a community event." Aisha's excitement bubbled over. "That sounds amazing." Mary nodded, her smile growing wider. "Yes, we could invite everyone in the neighborhood. It could be a day of kindness and support." Aisha jumped up, her heart racing. "Let's do it. We can start planning now." And so, with a new mission in mind, Aisha and Mary spent the rest of the afternoon discussing ideas. They talked about what they could do, how they could involve the community, and what kind of activities would bring people together. As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the park, Aisha realized that this day had turned into something extraordinary. They weren't just friends. They were a team now, ready to take on the world and make a difference. Aisha and Mary spent the next few days buzzing with excitement about their community event. They met every afternoon at the park, discussing ideas, making lists, and dreaming big. The more they talked, the more determined they became. "Let's call it a day of kindness," Aisha suggested one sunny afternoon. She was sprawled out on the grass, her notebook open with doodles of hearts and flowers filling the pages. Mary nodded enthusiastically. I love that name. It really captures what we want to do. Aisha's eyes sparkled. We could have food, games, and even a clothing drive for people who need it. Mary smiled. That sounds perfect. We can ask local businesses to help. Maybe they can donate food or supplies. Yes, Aisha exclaimed, her fingers flying across the pages of her notebook. And we can make flyers to spread the word. Everyone will want to come. As they discussed their plans, Aisha felt a new sense of purpose. She realized that helping others made her feel happier than anything else. She wanted to share this feeling with everyone in her community. On Saturday morning, they set out to gather support. They decided to visit local shops and businesses to ask for donations. Aisha felt a little nervous, but Mary encouraged her. You can do this, Aisha. Just be honest about what we're trying to do. People appreciate kindness, Mary said, her voice calm and reassuring. Their first stop was a small bakery known for its delicious pastries. The warm aroma of fresh bread welcomed them inside. Aisha took a deep breath, ready to speak up. Hi, I'm Aisha, and this is my friend Mary. We're organizing a community event called A Day of Kindness, and we were wondering if you would be willing to donate some baked goods for it. The baker, a kind-looking woman named Mrs. Thompson, smiled warmly. That sounds wonderful, dear. I'd love to help. How many people are you expecting? Aisha's heart raced with excitement. We're hoping for at least 50. Count on me for a few dozen cookies and pastries, Mrs. Thompson said, writing down her name and contact information. As they left the bakery, Aisha couldn't contain her excitement. That was so easy. We're off to a great start. Yes, we are. Mary agreed, beaming with pride. Now let's keep going. They visited a grocery store next, then a local pizza place, and even a nearby cafe. Each time, they met friendly faces who were eager to support their cause. By the end of the day, Aisha and Mary had gathered enough donations to feed hundreds of people. This is amazing. Aisha cheered, her eyes shining. I can't believe how many people want to help. Mary chuckled. When you spread kindness, it often comes back to you. People want to be part of something good. As they returned to the park that evening, Aisha felt like they were building something special together. Now we just need to tell everyone about it, she exclaimed. Mary pulled out her phone. Let's create a flyer. We can post it around town and share it on social media. They sat down together, sketching out their flyer. Aisha wanted it to be bright and colorful, filled with drawings of smiling faces and hearts. They wrote the details, the date, the location, and all the fun activities planned. Don't forget to add that we'll have a clothing drive, Aisha reminded Mary as she drew a big heart around that part. Absolutely. Let's also include a way for people to contact us if they want to volunteer, Mary added. By the time they finished the flyer, it was evening, and the sun was setting, casting a golden hue over the park. They took pictures of their flyer and posted them on social media, inviting everyone to join in. Over the next few days, the excitement in the community grew. People began to share their posts, and Aisha received messages from friends and neighbors who wanted to help out. She could hardly believe how fast it was all coming together. Finally, the big day arrived. Aisha woke up early, filled with anticipation. She dressed in her favorite outfit, a bright yellow dress that reminded her of sunshine, and headed to the park with Mary. The air was fresh, and the sky was a brilliant blue. As they set up, Aisha couldn't help but smile. Tables were decorated with colorful cloths, and volunteers were busy setting up games and activities for the kids. The smell of baked goods wafted through the air, making her stomach rumble. Look at all these people, Aisha exclaimed, her eyes wide with wonder. Friends and families gathered, laughter and chatter filling the park. Mary walked over, carrying a basket of cookies. It looks like we're ready. Are you excited? More than ever, Aisha replied, her heart swelling with joy. As the event began, Aisha felt a warm glow inside. People came together, playing games, enjoying food, and sharing stories. The clothing drive was a success, with bags piling up as community members donated items they no longer needed. Amidst the laughter and kindness, Aisha spotted Mary sitting on a bench, watching everything unfold with a proud smile. She rushed over, her voice bubbling with energy. "This is amazing, Mary. Thank you for helping me." Mary's eyes twinkled. "You did this, Aisha. You brought everyone together." As the sun began to set, painting the sky with hues of orange and pink, Aisha felt a deep sense of accomplishment. They had created something beautiful, a day filled with kindness, laughter, and community spirit. Aisha turned to Mary, her heart full. "We should do this every year." Mary nodded, her face radiant. "Absolutely. We've started something special today, Aisha." And with that, Aisha knew that this was just the beginning of many more days of kindness to come. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow over the park, Aisha felt a sense of happiness wash over her. The laughter of children echoed around her, blending with the soft music playing in the background. She looked around, her heart swelling with pride at the success of their event. It was everything she had hoped for and more. Just as Aisha turned to grab another cookie from the table, she noticed a familiar face approaching. It was the same homeless woman she had given her scarf 2 days ago. "Mary." "Hi, Aisha," the woman said, her voice cheerful. Aisha couldn't help but smile back, feeling a sense of joy at seeing her again. "I'm so glad you came," Aisha exclaimed. "How did you find out about this?" Mary chuckled softly, her eyes twinkling. "I heard about it from a friend who saw your flyer. I wanted to come see what all the excitement was about." Aisha's heart raced with happiness. "You're welcome to join us. There's plenty of food and games." Mary nodded gratefully. "Thank you, dear. This looks wonderful." Aisha and Mary spent some time together, enjoying the festivities. Aisha introduced her to some of her friends, who welcomed her warmly. They played games, laughed, and even shared stories. Mary told them about her life, her journey, and how the community had once taken care of her when she was in need. As the night progressed, Aisha noticed something amazing happening. People were connecting, sharing their own stories, and helping each other. It was as if the spirit of kindness had spread throughout the park, igniting a sense of community that she had always dreamed of. "Look at everyone," Aisha said to Mary, her eyes shining with wonder. "They're all coming together. This is exactly what I wanted." Mary nodded, her expression thoughtful. "Kindness has a way of bringing people together, doesn't it? You've created something special here, Aisha." Just then, a loud cheer erupted from the crowd. Aisha turned to see a group of children celebrating after winning a game. She felt a wave of joy wash over her. This was the impact of their hard work. As Aisha and Mary continued to enjoy the festivities, Aisha noticed something strange. A group of men in dark clothes had arrived at the park, their serious expressions contrasting sharply with the joyful atmosphere. They stood off to the side, watching the event with intensity. "Who are they?" Aisha wondered aloud, her brow furrowing with concern. Mary glanced over, her demeanor shifting slightly. "I'm not sure, but they don't seem to belong here. Let's keep an eye on them." Aisha nodded, feeling a sense of unease creeping in. The joyful atmosphere suddenly felt tense, and she couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. As the event continued, Aisha tried to focus on the fun, but her eyes kept drifting back to the men. They were whispering to each other and occasionally pointing at different people in the crowd. Aisha's heart raced as she felt a sense of danger lurking. Finally, one of the men began to walk toward them. Aisha's stomach dropped as he approached. He was tall, with an intimidating presence, and Aisha felt her palms grow sweaty. "Excuse me," the man said, his voice low and serious. "I need to speak with you." Aisha glanced at Mary, who looked equally concerned. "What is this about?" Aisha asked, trying to sound brave. "We're investigating a report about suspicious activities in this area," the man replied, his eyes scanning the crowd. "We need to ask some questions." Aisha felt her heart race as she exchanged worried glances with Mary. "But this is just a community event. We're here to spread kindness," she protested, hoping to defuse the situation. "I understand," the man said, but his expression remained stern. "We need to make sure everyone is safe." At that moment, the crowd began to notice the man's presence. People turned their attention toward him, a wave of uncertainty washing over the once joyful atmosphere. Aisha could see whispers spreading among the attendees. "Can you please tell me what's going on?" Aisha asked, her voice trembling slightly. Just then, another man joined them, wearing a badge. "I apologize for the disturbance," he said, addressing the crowd. "We're here to ensure everyone's safety, and we appreciate your cooperation." Mary stepped forward, her voice steady. "This is a community event focused on kindness. We're all here to help each other." The officer nodded. "I understand, and we appreciate that. We just want to make sure nothing disrupts this wonderful gathering. Can you tell us if you've seen anything unusual?" Aisha felt her heart race as she searched her mind. "Just those men," she said, pointing to the group in the corner. "They've been watching everyone." The officers exchanged glances and then approached the men. Aisha held her breath, her heart pounding. What if they were trouble? What would happen next? The crowd was silent, tension hanging in the air. Aisha could see the officers talking to the men, their expressions serious. She felt a wave of worry wash over her. After a few tense moments, the officers returned. "Thank you for your cooperation, everyone," one of the officers said. "It seems we had a misunderstanding. The men are part of a neighborhood watch group. They were concerned for the safety of the event." Aisha's shoulders relaxed slightly. The tension began to lift from the crowd as relief spread through the attendees. "Thank you for looking out for us," someone shouted from the crowd, and laughter returned as people resumed their activities. Aisha glanced at Mary, who looked relieved. "I'm glad that's over," she said quietly. "Yes, but it reminded us how important it is to keep our community safe," Mary replied. "Even in the midst of kindness, we must stay aware." As the evening continued, Aisha felt grateful for the support of her community. The joyful atmosphere returned, and she knew that even in times of uncertainty, kindness would always prevail. The community event continued under the soft glow of the evening lights. Laughter echoed through the park as families played games and shared stories. Aisha felt a sense of accomplishment wash over her. Her heart swelled with pride as she looked around at the happy faces. However, in the back of her mind, she couldn't shake off the unease from the earlier encounter with the officers and the men. Mary noticed Aisha's distant gaze and placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Hey, it's okay," she said gently. "You did something wonderful here. Just remember to stay vigilant." Aisha nodded, grateful for Mary's wisdom. "I will. I just want everyone to feel safe and happy," she replied, forcing a smile. As the night wore on, the park began to empty out. Aisha's friends helped clean up, gathering leftover snacks and decorations. The air was filled with a sense of accomplishment, but Aisha couldn't shake the feeling that something was coming. Suddenly, as Aisha finished packing the last of the cookies, a loud knock echoed from the park gate. It startled everyone, and Aisha exchanged worried glances with her friends. "Who could that be?" one of her friends asked, curiosity mixed with apprehension. "I don't know," Aisha replied, her heart racing. She glanced at Mary, who looked just as uneasy. "Should we check it out?" Mary nodded. "Let's see who it is, but let's be careful." Aisha and Mary approached the park entrance together, their footsteps echoing in the now quiet space. As they neared the gate, they could see a figure standing in the shadows, illuminated by the park lights. "Who's there?" Aisha called out, her voice steady despite her racing heart. The figure stepped into the light, revealing a tall man with a serious expression. Aisha's stomach twisted in knots as she recognized him from the earlier encounter. He was one of the men who had been watching the event. Hi, the man said, his tone slightly more relaxed than before. I'm sorry to disturb you. I wanted to speak with you again, Aisha. Aisha hesitated, unsure of how to respond. What do you want? She asked cautiously. I wanted to apologize for earlier, he said, looking sincere. My name is Jake. I didn't mean to create any tension. I just wanted to ensure everyone's safety. Aisha glanced at Mary, who raised an eyebrow, clearly still on guard. You were watching us. Why? Mary asked, her voice firm. Jake sighed, running a hand through his hair. I'm part of a neighborhood watch, and sometimes things happen in this area that can put people at risk. When I saw the event, I got concerned. Concerned about what? Aisha asked, crossing her arms. There have been reports of suspicious activity nearby, Jake explained. That's why we were here. We thought it was best to check it out. Aisha's heart raced again, fear creeping in. What kind of activity? Jake hesitated, glancing back toward the parking lot. There have been break-ins and some strange people hanging around. We just wanted to make sure you all were safe. Aisha felt a shiver run down her spine. So you think something might happen here? I hope not, but we can't be too careful, Jake said, his voice earnest. That's why I wanted to warn you. You might want to keep an eye on things. Before Aisha could respond, a police car rolled up, its lights flashing. The officers who had spoken to them earlier stepped out, looking serious. Aisha, we need to talk to you, one of the officers called, urgency in his voice. Aisha felt a wave of anxiety wash over her. What's happening? She asked, stepping forward. We received a report of someone suspicious in the area, and we need to check on things, the officer said, glancing at Jake. Is this the man you mentioned? Yes, Aisha replied, feeling the weight of the situation. He's part of the neighborhood watch. The officer nodded, his expression serious. We need to know everything that's happened here tonight. We want to ensure your safety. Aisha felt her heart race as she explained the events of the day, including the earlier encounter with Jake. As she spoke, she noticed that the atmosphere around them had shifted. The air felt charged with tension, and she could sense that everyone was on edge. As the officers took notes and asked questions, Jake remained quiet, watching the interaction closely. Aisha couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to this story than she knew. After what felt like an eternity, the officers finished their questioning. They assured Aisha and her friends that they would keep a close watch on the area. As they prepared to leave, Aisha felt a sense of relief mixed with worry. Thank you for looking out for us, Aisha said to the officers as they turned to leave. Stay safe, Aisha, one officer replied. We'll be around. As they drove off, Aisha turned to Jake. Are you sure everything will be okay? She asked, her voice laced with concern. Jake nodded, though his expression remained serious. Just be aware. Trust your instincts. Aisha felt a sense of uncertainty settling in her chest. As she and Mary returned to the remaining friends, Aisha couldn't help but feel the weight of the world on her shoulders. That night, as Aisha lay in bed, she replayed the events in her mind. She felt proud of what they had accomplished, yet anxious about the unknown dangers lurking in the shadows. Tomorrow would be another day, and she would face whatever came with courage and kindness. Aisha had learned that even in moments of fear, the light of compassion could guide the way.